Here's something I am excited for, and it's the second trailer on their docket today. Indiana Jones 5. Now, you've seen the trailer, yes?
I gave it to you. Yes, I did.
Okay. All right. So the spoiler from last week or the week before we had Bevan on about Indiana Jones 5 was that we are going to get young Indiana Jones. And I am super thrilled. We are getting young Indiana Jones. That's the thing that has got me very, very excited because I don't like seeing my heroes age. I don't need God bless Harrison Ford is in amazing shape for being 80 years old. First of all, like let's give him props where props are due. He looks maybe 70, so that's good. Like he's in great shape. But there you go. Young Indiana Jones. We are going to get an extended young Indiana Jones sequence, and I can't wait for it. I'm going to revel in it. I'm hoping that, like we see these scenes, at least he's on a horse. This is good. So, maybe if you talk about a bias, I have a bias against the aged characters, unless they're going to, somehow, how's he doing these stunts? My God, my dad's 80. There's no way he's doing that. There's just no way. But it's okay. So maybe he's
Your
not
dad's
80
not a
years old.
superhero.
Well, that's true too. But no, so I am like super looking forward to it, without a doubt. I like this little closing scene too. I don't know. I feel as if there's going to be a restitution for Crystal Skull. I feel like we're going to get something pretty good. Now, to your point from a few weeks ago,
I feel that no matter what, you're not.
You think it's going to be worse than Crystal Skull?
Nope.
Or on the same par?
Because I actually liked Crystal Skull. I just don't think that people are in a headspace to receive the nostalgia. The nostalgia hits that they go looking for is the thing that ultimately turns them against the thing. So regardless of the quality of the movie, whether it is of quality or not, it's gonna, it's not gonna get a lot of goodwill, I think.
My issues with Crystal Skull were that the mystery itself wasn't very good. Like the actual, Crystal
People
Skull.
Are already complaining that the title is of Dial of
Destiny.
I
don't love that either. I'm not a huge fan of that. But who knows? Like I said, open mind. I'm okay. Like,
and then other people are like, oh, as long as there's no aliens in it, it's BS. I just don't.
It's interdimensional beings, according to George Lucas.
Well, you tell that to the internet.
The internet's my enemy. I can't do that. B.
The internet's my enemy.
Oh, that's true. Okay. Right. Can they co-opt it? Maybe our enemy.
Sure.
But B. Again, the alien. I didn't even have a problem with the aliens in Crystal Skull. What I had a problem with was the part of the fun for me in Indiana Jones was kind of the mystery aspect to the artifact or whatever, the artifact that they're going to get, right? So I love Temple of Doom. It doesn't have to be religious. It can be sacred.
There's really no mystery in Temple of Doom, though. They stole the stone. He went to get the stone back.
Right, but you know what? He ended up uncovering this whole, cult that worshipped the stone. There was the mystery aspect of like, anytime you can open a cave or open a door to a cave and there's, to me, that was the mystery of Temple of Doom was like, wow, what's happening, beneath the surface here? What's actually going on? There was so many cool stunts. There were so many cool, like, and I'm not going to use the word special effects, but challenges to him accomplishing his goal to the point where I was like, wow, this is really exciting. Raiders of the Lost Ark had obviously the Ark of the Covenant, which is an amazing, artifact. It's a renowned artifact.
But there's no mystery in that either. There was a search for it, but there was no.
Maybe mystery is the wrong word that I'm using for, but there were challenges that had to be overcome in order to discover where these artifacts actually were. Mm-hmm. That to me, in the first three movies, all held up. in Crystal Skull, it just felt like there wasn't ever a sense of danger. It was more about him and his son and and his love interest where I don't know, there was just something that just never there was no danger to me. There was no an element of danger, there was no element of challenge. They just like, we go here, and now we go here, and now we go here. And it stinks because you kind of waste, Kate Blanchett in a role that I think she could have been. I mean, she's an amazing actress, so she's great in anything. So I don't know. It felt like it just felt weak. It overall, everything about it just felt weak. And again, I had no problem with aliens being the big like, culmination of the film. Just, I don't know. It definitely, I walked away feeling like just very disappointed in what they were searching for, and what they were ultimately, the prize, that ultimately came. Mind you, I think again, I think because Kate Blanchett's, I guess, I don't know, it just felt like the communists, what a great villain you could have, right? Like communist Russia. Those were our enemies back then. That was, you know, they are on the same level as like in terms of being a threat to humanity, like the Nazis were. And so
Socially, no, though. I mean, culturally, maybe now.
well,
But I mean, at the time, 10 years ago, 10 or 11 years ago, we were in a different social place with Russia. So they kind of received more of a kind of a they were treated more like the Japanese are usually treated when we go through them, when we deal with them via World War II. The only ones who get the absolute dastardly treatment
right.
are the Nazis,
Yeah. I mean, there were, because Soviet Union fell, but that to me it doesn't matter. I mean, if you're going to set it in the 1950s, you're gonna put me in that situation,
Yeah,
like just like in the 40s.
I think it's a subconscious uh quirk. I don't think people do it intentionally. I think that they
Yeah.
okay. just people don't see the Nazis as the villains. I mean, excuse me, the Russians as the villains in comparison to the Nazis. In fact, the Russians helped us fight the Nazis, so it's a little different. The
Well, what about
Nazis
the
are
80s, like with Rocky, like Rocky 4? I mean, that was
yeah, but with that, I mean, the 80s wasn't 10 years ago.
okay.
That's what I'm
So
talking
you're
about.
saying
So
because the Soviet Union ultimately never became, the Soviet Union from the Cold War. Let's just separate the two, right?
there's a
Ultimately,
lot.
never panned out. We subconsciously, I'm running through what you're saying.
Yes,
We
I know.
subconsciously kind of like we limit them, we lessen them.
It's not lessening. They have more nuance. The Nazis are
Okay,
cartoon villains. They're evil
sure.
for the sake of evil. They're
Okay,
two-dimensional. No, excuse me, one-dimensional. The Russians are kind of three-dimensional because we know them, and culturally we know them. They've been through things. They've experienced things that we've all experienced. They went through communism to democracy and then to oligarchy. So unfortunate, but I mean, it wasn't that apparent at the time.
that's an interesting point,
So
though. That's an interesting point, though, that if, let's say, the Kingdom of Crystal Skull came out in the 80s and was set in, communist 50s, how much
then, yeah, I mean, you
how much
watch
more
movies.
we would be heightened by
Watch movies like
that.
Firefox or whatever, and
Yeah.
there's plenty evil depicted in that movie. But I mean, as of the mid '90s to the 2000, what was it? 2010 or something like that.
Mhm.
Whenever Crystal Skull came out, we weren't in that place.
Yeah.
So we
That's interesting.
subconsciously, I believe, we subconsciously have sympathy for that particular villain. There's more of a sympathetic tilt for that villain in that movie than there would be the one-dimensional Nazis.
All right. I don't know if I agree
Okay,
with the word
2000.
sympathy, but
2008.
But it's an interesting take. What I will say is I definitely
They're more
do agree.
humanized. They got humanized a lot more. We
Yeah,
don't humanize. It's
that's true
it's
too,
almost
right?
antithetical to humanize Nazis.
That's true.
So, the Russians, they all joked. They had a sense of humor. There were a couple of
Well, even
them
like
that.
Spies Like Us, right? That was set in the Cold War, but you did still have sympathy for um the Russian
I'm
characters at
not
the end.
talking about the 80s. Why do you keep going back to movies in the
No,
80s?
because what I'm saying is I'm actually supporting your point. In the fact that the Russians get more humanized than Nazis. I never actually really thought about that. And the first thing that came to mind was Spies Like Us, which actually did come out during the Cold War in the 80s. Yet, who does Dan Aykroyd and Chevy Chase end up with at the end is the Russian women.
I never saw
Whereas
Spies Like Us.
you've never seen Spies Like Us?
Mm-mm.
What?
It's just one of those movies I missed.
What?
Yep.
Oh my God.
I never saw Raw Deal until like a year ago. Remember
What's Raw
Arnold
Deal?
Schwarzenegger movie Raw Deal, one of his classic golden age movies?
No, I never saw that. But you have homework.
I wasn't a big Chevy Chase fan, so I never saw Fletch. I've never seen
I
either
haven't
of the
seen
Fletch
Fletch
movies.
either. Dan Aykroyd. I'm a big Dan Aykroyd fan, though. Dan Aykroyd makes great movies.
Yeah, but I mean, you put Chevy Chase in there, it ruins a Dan. It's a wash. It washes out. Anyway, doesn't matter.
Name me a Chevy Chase movie that you watched that you liked.
Christmas Vacation.
Oh yeah, he's great in that. And the original Vacation is phenomenal.
Christmas Vacation.
No, you don't like the original Vacation?
Not really. I don't like Chevy Chase. So, but I do like Christmas Vacation. I think he wasn't as Chevy Chase in that movie. He was
Hassan,
more
you are
of
an
a
onion
sympathetic guy.
with many layers.
Okay.
Many layers.
I don't think anyone cares whether I like Chevy Chase or not. Anyway, the
do.
Russians get more three-dimensionalized than the Nazis, and that's probably why they weren't the threat that you were worried about in Crystal Skull. They're in it for the sake of history, for the sake of the historical relevance of that era, right?
Yeah.
And just like why there are UFOs and quote unquote aliens, because the Raiders of the Lost Ark is a spoof on the 1930s serials, the matinees in serials, right?
And well, they're all technically supposed to be, right? I mean,
yeah, but mostly Raiders of the Lost Ark. It's actually cut that way. Temple of Doom is more of the 1950s like swashbuckling adventures and whatnot. And then by the time you got to The Last Crusade, it was capable of self-parody,
right?
Because it had established itself as its own genre.
Yeah.
Right. So Kingdom of the Crystal Skull kind of goes backwards because it goes back to being a spoof on the era as opposed to being its own thing. And then it just had some character elements in it, which is why I don't mind it. I don't really get the complaints of the refrigerator and the nuclear explosion.
No, I had no problem with that.
I don't really get the complaints of the aliens or
he
whatever.
He fell out of an airplane in a raft and lived.
Yeah, I mean there was a box that you opened the box and it only killed Nazis because you kept your eyes closed. I mean the story has a percentage of absurdity.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
And I think what has happened to us is that as sophisticated as we have become as an audience over the years, I think we are less sophisticated in our ability to comprehend satire and these other things. We take everything very literally, and so and I think that's because of the internet. We have a hive mind now, so we don't even have our own real opinions about things. We have our opinions, and then we verify our opinions by checking what everybody else is thinking online. And that wasn't the case even 12 or 13 years ago. I remember
walking out in 2008, and the internet wasn't a big thing back then, and I just walked out being like, meh, that wasn't great.
The internet wasn't a big thing. Facebook, we had MySpace and Facebook. I mean, like,
yeah, but that percentage of people that actually used it versus
Well, I
You know,
was on it.
I know, but
The internet was a big deal anyway because the internet was the reason that everybody was capable of constantly roasting the prequels. The internet was certainly a big deal by 2008.
again, I walked
I
out of the
don't
prequels saying the same thing though. So I
I
mean, it
can't
was, you know.
follow that though. I can't follow your logic on that. That the internet wasn't a thing in 2008. I
No,
don't
I'm
know what
saying it
you're
wasn't as
talking
big
about.
a thing as it is now. I think
Well,
it's a
it
big deal.
doesn't mean it wasn't a thing.
Yeah, but I think it was a microcosm back then. I don't think it is the same today because now we're all walking around with the internet. You know, we're all on our phones, which are basically just pocket computers.
That
You
doesn't
know, all the
change
social
any.
media platforms have become message boards, which is maybe that's what I'm saying. Where would people have roasted the prequels back then, or where would people have roasted Kingdom of Crystal Skull? On message boards,
On
right?
YouTube, which was around on message boards. Message boards haven't been around since the 90s. We're talking YouTube. You got
Mm,
MySpace. You got Friendster. You got Facebook.
yeah, but I
You've
mean,
got
people weren't, at least in my circles, they weren't roasting, you know, movie. We were hanging out together and actually doing that in person. Is my point. I
you.
think
All right, Michael.
there was water coolers. Remember, there's water coolers. People actually got around the water cooler because everyone had to go to work. That's where we met, at work. So I don't know. I think your statement is more accurate today than maybe in 2008. Now, it's very possible that people then
No,
flocked
it's
to the
not. It's
internet.
accurate. I remember 2008. I'm older than you. My memory is for some
Should be
reason
worse,
more intact.
actually.
No, for some reason my memory is more intact. I remember.
All right.
Okay, so look, my Facebook posts go back to 2008. So we
Yeah,
had
no, I'm
Facebook.
not saying the internet wasn't around.
Well, look, it doesn't need to be it doesn't need to have been proliferated at the time. It still was a thing, and
I'm
people
saying
were still
it
using
was,
it.
yes, it
It
existed.
wasn't.
I agree.
It
I'm not
wasn't.
saying it didn't exist and people didn't
So
use
then,
it.
what's your point?
My point being is that your statement is that now we don't actually have real opinions. We just have a hive mind. We weren't a hive mind back then because the percentage of people that actually used things like Facebook and MySpace, you know, was limited to like college kids and
Yeah.
young
Okay. Let's try
adults.
again. Let's try again. I didn't say we were a hive mind then. I said we are a hive mind now.
Yes. But my point being is Crystal Skull came out then. So how could we, like, how can our opinions, like, my opinion is still my opinion from 2008. Like, it hasn't changed thanks to the internet. And then, but you go on the internet and you go, oh, yeah, it looks like other people had the same opinion as me. Now I can see what you're saying more as to what's my opinion. I don't have an opinion on it.
Because you weren't listening. But I said that we just do not have our own opinions about things. Now that's all I said.
Now
I said I don't. We were using elements of comparison with the Indiana Jones movies or whatever, but I just said we don't really have our own opinions anymore because we live in a hive mind.
right,
And
I'm
so
saying that
we
my opinion from
usually go to the
2008 was
internet
still
to
that the movie
verify.
wasn't very good.
Yeah, but I wasn't talking about. But I'm not quibbling about whether or not Crystal Skull was any good or not because I don't do that with you. You know, I understand you have a different opinion. That's fine.
Yeah.
I'm talking about now. You know,
Okay.
That's all I'm ever talking about. But anyway, doesn't matter.
Got it. All right. What do you guys think? Indiana Jones 5, clearly a much better trailer than Guardians of the Galaxy 3, which I don't care about.
We disagree.
That's the hive mind. I'm gonna proliferate. I'm gonna.
I know I don't have a hive mind with you
internet.
though. That's a relief because I don't agree with that statement.
Well, I'm going to manifest it into the internet because we're a hive mind. So I'm just putting it out there.
Yeah.
So
I get you.
What do you guys think? Comment in the chat field. Let us know what your thoughts are. When we come back, we'll do a brief all around the Rogue. Hi Hi guys, Mike Dolce here from the Rogue Wave Podcast. If you like this video, please feel free to like, share, subscribe, all that fun stuff. It really helps us out. Leave a comment, let us know what you'd like to see in future episodes, and tune in every Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern, for a brand new episode of the Rogue Wave Podcast.